Hi, folks. It's about 11 o'clock here in the Northeast on this Monday, March 4th, 2013. I'm Stephen Boyle for Northeast Storm Center and New England weather. Well, we are definitely keeping an eye on a potentially major snowstorm that could be impacting a good chunk of the Northeast from anywhere from basically central Virginia all the way up to southern New England. The potential is there for many regions to get over 6 inches, with potentially up to 18 to some models indicating over 2 feet of snow. So we're going to have to really keep our eyes peeled on this particular storm situation. Not only will it be the snow, but the heavy winds and the coastal flooding will also enhance the storm situation. So basically, here are your current watches and warnings right now. You can see many winter storm watches are out. I do anticipate winter storm watches to be spread in through these regions tomorrow. By the morning when you wake up, there will probably be winter storm watches in through these areas, or a good chunk of those regions. And of course, you can see winter storm warnings are starting to pop up in through portions of Pennsylvania and the Virginia region. So we are going to keep an eye on that. So basically, let's just look at what the National Weather Service is indicating. Let's just look at some of their forecasted or projected snow totals. Let's just start with this. This is down in Blacksburg, Virginia. So here it is. Okay, basically you can see this is what Blacksburg, Virginia of the Blacksburg, Virginia National Weather Service is indicating: 3 to 7 into parts of West Virginia, 6 to 10 with into these regions, 2 to 6 into the eastern regions of their forecast area, with up to 6 inches possible, locally 6 inches possible, 2 to 6 inches possible into these mountains of Virginia, 3 to locally 7 into central portions of the forecast region. This is all in western Virginia, by the way, and one county of West Virginia. Okay, so let's look at what Charleston, West Virginia is saying as far as snow totals. Right now, potential for 4 more inches, 6 to 10 with higher amounts in the higher elevations. And then moving on over to the D.C. Forecast office. Here it is: 10 to 14 inches of snow for areas generally west of Washington. The Washington, D.C. area, 4 to 8 inches of snow with possibly higher amounts. And then, of course, you can see 8 to 10 well to the west of Washington, D.C. So basically, you can see a pretty intense snowstorm for these folks. Moving a little bit to the north here, this is from the National Weather Service in State College. Let's kind of look at what they're predicting as far as snowfall totals. And you can see a wide area of 4 to 8 with locally 8 to 10 through southern PA. So looking like a pretty good snowstorm. And these totals here may actually be underdoing it a little bit. There are many models that are indicating much more than that, but that's just to be on the safe side for right now. Then this is from the National Weather Service in Pittsburgh, and notice how you have Pittsburgh in the 4 to 6 inch range. You have 10 to 14 into these regions of West Virginia and also Maryland. 8 to 10 as you work your way into some of the mountains of Pennsylvania as well. So looks like a pretty interesting snowstorm to me. So we're going to have to kind of keep our eyes on that, as of course things will be updated. So let's just look at here. This is the surface map, and this kind of gives you a good overview of what's actually going on as far as low pressures and high pressures. Now, here is the thing, okay? We do have this little innocuous little low, this harmless little low pressure system that has been spurting out snow showers for the past couple of days, actually over the past almost week now, this is actually the same storm system that caused those rains. This has been just meandering around. This will finally, as this blocking is starting to weaken a little bit, this is going to go ahead and work its way in this particular direction out. And this will leave us just in time for when this storm system, basically, this is going to become one storm system. Right now, they're two separate low pressures, but this little low pressure will move out in time for the major storm. Right now, it's two separate low pressures, one in the North-South Dakota area, one down towards Oklahoma and Arkansas. Basically, these are going to kind of work their way in this direction, and somewhere in the Indiana, the Ohio River Valley, they are going to phase, or they're going to start to phase. Basically, phase is essentially becoming one storm system. So basically, you'll see the energy from this system transferred down into this system. And what's going on here is you're seeing Gulf of Mexico moisture being sucked into this low down in the southern stream. This low in the northern stream will eventually transfer its energy into this and basically create a bigger situation. So yeah, that's generally the situation, what it's looking like as far as the storm goes. And again, here is another little area of high pressure. Okay, it's this area of high pressure right here. How far south does that go? Does that go well into northern New England, which I don't think it will. I think it will probably end up being somewhere right in here, far enough to the north to basically, create a little bit of a block, but essentially, but create enough to where it will, like I said, it's enough of a block to affect us, but not too much. Now, if this was a stronger millibar pressure, if this wasn't a 1034 high, but maybe a 1040 or even 1037 high, then maybe we would be talking about this low pressure system that we have down here being shunted to the south. However, this is not looking like it's going to be as strong as originally indicated by the models, which is definitely something major and definitely something to definitely consider as far as snowfall totals go. Looking at what the HPC is essentially forecasting as far as snow is concerned, let's just look at snow probability forecasts. This is for today, or Wednesday, and this will show you how much snow is expected through the day Wednesday, and basically most of the snow is in the Midwest. Now let's start off with Thursday, and you can see basically a 100% chance of greater than or equal to an inch for Ohio. We're talking about people who live in the Mid-Atlantic. At this particular time, some of the fringes of this is starting to enter into southern New England, so therefore maybe up to a 50% chance of up greater than or equal to an inch on Thursday. Again, most of this will be affecting us Thursday night into Friday. Is what it's looking like. Well, it'll start Wednesday night. Here is again the basic overview here. You can sort of see there is the predictions greater than or equal to 6 inches. That's about an 80 to 90% chance that you see into those regions down into portions of northern Virginia. Greater than 12 inches, we basically have a 50 to 60% shot of that, and greater than or equal to 18 inches, we have a 30 to 40% chance of that happening in northern Virginia, which is quite extensive. Now we move to Friday, and this is when potentially the New England area will be affected. You can see greater than or equal to an inch. You can see much of southern New England is encompassed by about 50 to up to 80% chance of snowfall greater than or equal to an inch. Again, this will be more fine-tuned as we get closer to the event here, the event that's going to be going on into southern New England. This will be fine-tuned, but I am still very confident, as of course models are still continuing to point towards a very extensive snowfall for southern New England. Greater than or equal to 4 inches, you can see still maybe generally between a 30 to 50% chance of that happening. Greater than 6 inches, you can see basically between at least a 20% chance, if not up to a 60% chance to some areas. Greater than 8, we have overall a 10 to maybe up to a 50% chance of that happening. Greater than 12, we have basically into eastern portions of the region a 20 to 30% chance of that happening, maybe locally up to a 40% chance, and then you can see there you go. There is a 10 to 20% chance of greater than or equal to 18 inches. Here's snowfall accumulation by percentile. This is on Thursday. This is the 50th percentile, basically right in the middle. Here is the 75th, the 90th, and then the 95th. You can see potentially some of these areas at the greatest could be talking about up to 33 to 36, or is that 30 to, yeah, 30 to 33, I'm sorry, 30 to 33 inches of snow. But again, that's a little overdoing it. I'm thinking more around this is what will be going on. You would be probably talking a widespread 15 to 18 with locally up to 24 inches of snow. This would be taking the middle route. But for the most part, 50 to 75% chance is pretty good. Even 90 you could probably get away with as well. Friday, here is the 50th percent, and you can see generally southern New England getting anywhere between at least 2 to 4, if not 4 to 6, or even 6 to 8. The 75th percentile, that's definitely probably the better way to go, with widespread 4 to 6, with locally 15 to 18 inches. Even the 95th in southern New England, I don't think is over, or the 90 to the 95th percentile, I don't think is really overdoing it in southern New England. I do believe southern New England will be seeing a pretty major event with widespread 8 to 10, with locally 10 to 12, or with good 10 to 12 inch amounts, with locally into some portions up to, well, this is indicating possibly up to 30 inches. That might be overdoing it a little, but for the most part, I think a lot of people will be seeing good snows with that. That's 24-hour snowfall forecasts. Let's look at 48-hour snowfall forecasts. Greater than 2 inches, you can see this is for through Thursday, and you can see that basically high amounts, 95 to 100% chance of greater than 2 inches, and there you go. I mean, greater than or equal to 30 inches, I mean, you can see there's a 5 to 10% chance of that happening. Low percentages of that. Checking out Friday, you can see basically a high percent of greater than or equal to 2, greater than or equal to 4, still a pretty high chance. Greater than or equal to 8, you can see overall through a good chunk of southern New England, at least a 20% chance of that. Looking at greater than or equal to 12, I mean, eastern New England looks good, but overall a 5 to 10% chance of that happening. Not a high chance of greater than or equal to 18, and then there you go. But I do think that southern New England, this is the snowfall accumulation by percentile, and you can see that the HPC puts out a good up to 18 inches through Thursday. That's the 50th percent. Let's go to the 95th, and you can see a little bit more widespread, 30 to 33. But again, that's overdoing it a little. But again, let's go to the 50th now. Looking at southern New England, 90 to 95th. Again, I don't think going the 95th percentile for southern New England is actually a bad idea here. Maybe into these little spots right in here, here and here. But for the most part, I think this is going to be a very major situation for people who are into from basically southern New England down to Washington, D.C. So this is definitely going to be a pretty interesting situation. Now, this is the NCEP, HPC, and SPC SREF, which is a model, short-range ensemble forecast, derived winter weather impact graphics. So from here, we can look at snowfall totals that are being predicted by this particular model, which is what the HPC tends to use. Now, notice how shows some pretty darn extensive snows, which is pretty interesting. Now, let's just move back for a few minutes. Okay. Now, let's kind of zoom in first here into West Virginia, or excuse me, Virginia. This gives Washington, D.C., let's actually move back one. This gives Washington, D.C. anywhere between at least 10 to 12 inches, if not up to 15 inches of snow. This particular model, with at least 8 to 10. Then we have this little spot right over northern Virginia where we could be talking about greater than 24 inches of snow. Now, we start moving into northern New Jersey by this particular time, and you can sort of see we have anywhere between 8 to 12 inches of snow. We have snow starting in southern New England, and look at this. This is showing a good swath of southern New England. Now, what this is doing is it's showing that the Connecticut River Valley of Massachusetts is going to get less. They are tending to do that with this. They're showing that it's going to be warmer. I am very highly confident that this is overdoing the warm air in the valley. I strongly believe that we should be talking about greater amounts through all of Massachusetts, not just areas east and west of the Pioneer River Valley and the Connecticut River Valley. Strongly believe at least 8 to 10 through this whole region. I actually strongly believe that we could be talking about 10 to 15 in through this whole region, if not 15 to 18. Now notice how it shows up to 24 inches into central portions of Worcester County. Very, very extensive. So that's pretty interesting. Notice how that kind of brings it through, and there's the end of it. Now, let's kind of unzoom this. Let's show the 12-hour potentials of exceeding winter storm watch or warning criteria. You can see basically 100% chance of that happening. 100% chance of that happening in the mid-Atlantic, and basically you can see at least a 60%, 50 to 60% chance of exceeding winter storm watch or warning criteria in southern New England for 12-hour snowfalls. 24-hour snowfalls, let's look at the potentials of that happening. You can see slight chances in through the Midwest, Chicago area. You can see it starts going up through southern New England where we have at least a 30% chance of that happening. Blizzard criteria. Let's see if this could be potentially a blizzard. Again, it's going to feel a lot like a blizzard, but it may not necessarily be a blizzard. But notice how it does give potentials along the coast of that to potentially happen. And let's kind of show this out. Let's kind of show this out here a little bit. Notice how we do have some 50 to 60% chances right off the main coast. What does this mean for New England? Means that the potential is there. Okay, so we're going to have to kind of keep an eye on that. Surface visibility less than or equal to a half a mile. There you go. There you can see overall a very high potential of that happening. And then, of course, you can see that's pretty high into southern New England, at least a 50 to 60% chance. Less than a quarter of a mile. There you go. There's it going through the Midwest. There it is in the Mid-Atlantic, and then there was a little few pop-ups in southern New England. Less than an eighth of a mile, probably not going to happen into too many areas with this particular storm. I mean, it's a very potent storm nevertheless, but most of it is not going to be onshore. That would be mainly offshore where you'll be getting that. An inch an hour, this is the potentials of that happening. You can see pretty high potentials going through here and also going into the mid-Atlantic. Notice how it'll eventually move up into southern New England where we have a fairly good chance of that happening. 2 inches an hour, this is the potentials of that happening. Again, it'll be into some areas, particularly the mid-Atlantic, and then notice how it sort of starts moving northward, and it has some low probabilities in through southern New England. 3 inches an hour, this will definitely not be happening in a lot of areas. It would be maybe into a few scattered locations into portions of West Virginia. But other than that, don't expect 3 inch an hour rates. 12-hour duration as far as this storm goes. You can see basically a 100% chance for a lot of areas, even for southern New England. This is basically a 100% shot of this being a 12-hour duration storm. 24-hour duration storm, what's the chances of that happening? Well, you can see still, yet again, a fairly high chance, particularly into the mid-Atlantic and even into southern New England. This has a practically almost 100% chance of being a 24-hour duration snow event, or storm at least. Going out here, this is at hour 33, 36, 39, 48. This is the first 48 hours. And notice how it does show possibilities, particularly in southern New England, where some areas have up to a 50, 60, maybe even 80% chance of this being a 48-hour event. Notice how we have some fairly high likelihoods there. So this could be a fairly interesting storm for a lot of people. Okay, now I do want to show you some models. Okay, I want to basically show you the models. Now, this is only going to be for this particular storm. We're not going to be looking at trends and all of this other stuff. I mean, we're already up to 20 minutes here on the video, but this is only going to show you for the storm, not trends, not the future, basically just for this storm. We're going to start off with actually with basically the models that are not showing a major storm. And again, these are previous runs of the models. This is the 12Z Euro. Actually, I'm going to show you the 0 and the 12Z Euro. Alright, now here's the 0Z Euro. Okay, now this came out last night. Alright, and basically you can see how it is just shunted out to sea. Okay, no question. Now, as we got to 12Z this afternoon, okay, here is a storm. Okay, now let's look at hour 60 and hour 72. This is 12Z, this is 0Z. 12, 0. Notice how there is a shift. There is a sizable shift to the north on the 12Z Euro. That is very, very major, because that shift will make a difference, and that indicates a trend in the models. Now, let's also look at the Canadian. This is another outlier. This is generally showing you that the storm will be getting shunted out to sea, but still impacting southern New England with a little bit of snow, and also the New York City metro, and again, definitely impacting the Washington, D.C. area. Let's show you the JMA, which the JMA is actually showing the storm. Now, when you look at this, you're going to be like, oh my god, look at all this precip. No, it's 24-hour precip. It's not 6-hour precip. It's over a 24-hour period. But basically, here is a storm. All right, you can see that it moves up the coast and does affect basically the whole Northeast with a snow event, and with a pretty sizable one at that. All right, so that's definite. That's our first model. So basically, so far I showed you the Euro and the Canadian and the JMA. So basically, one model thus far. Oh, and I also showed you the SREF, which was the one that I showed you with all those things on the HPC website. So basically, 2 out of the 4 that I've shown you so far are showing a storm. All right, now let's go to Let's go to the NAM. Okay, this is the 0Z NAM. All right, and I'll even put up the 18Z for those who are skeptical. Actually, yeah, I'll put up the 18Z for those who are skeptical. Okay, all right. Let's actually start out with the 18Z. All right, so here we go. We're moving on through. Oh, here we go. Look at a major storm impacting the areas from basically Virginia up through southern New England. Pretty interesting. Now let's look at the 0Z. Was it any different? Not really. Here is hour 36. Notice how it brings the snow right up into southern New England from Virginia up through southern New England. And then there you go. I mean it's as simple as that. Now, I'm going to show you the 12Z GFS, and I'm going to show you the 18Z, and I'm also going to show you the rapid update of the 0Z. So we got 3 GFS models to show you. All right, and I could even go as far as going to show you the 6Z, but I'm just not going to do that. It would be a little a little bit redundant. But here you go. Here's the 12Z Euro. You can see that, or GFS, I mean, that brings the snow right into southern New England from Virginia and southern PA. Okay, so there you go. All right, now let's just go where the storm starts. It's hour 30. So here you go. All right, here's the storm, and it brings the snow right into southern New England from Virginia. There you go. I mean, it ends up, there you go. Okay. All right, so now here we go. Here is the 0Z, and it brings the snow from Virginia up into southern New England. There's no doubt in my mind at this particular point that the chances of this storm becoming a very significant event from southern New England to the mid-Atlantic is almost inevitable at this particular point because of how close these models are. And I would wait for the Euro, but again, it's really late at night that comes out. So in the morning, that would be what I would consider the morning part of the morning guidance. Okay. Now, 12Z, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the 12Z GFS ensembles and the 18Z. Now, for those of you who don't know what an ensemble is what I showed you is the operational models. Now, ensembles are when an operational model is run multiple times, and ensembles just put out each of the different potentials, okay, when that one particular model is run those multiple times. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to show you the 12 and the 18Z GFS ensembles. Okay, so here we go. This is the 12Z. This is the 12Z GFS ensembles. All right, so here is our storm. So how many of the GFS ensembles, whoops, I'm sorry about that. How many of the GFS ensembles are showing the storm impacting people from basically West Virginia or from Virginia to New York City and Boston? I'm so sorry. This is from a chat room. I'm sorry. Here we go. You have one model or two ensembles, three ensembles, four ensembles, five ensembles, six ensembles. That one's lower, but even still. Seven ensembles, eight ensembles. We're at 8 right now. 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 out of the 12. Okay. That's kind of conclusive to me. Now, normally, when you look at the ensembles and the operational, they are quite different. However, if you look at the operationals and the operational and the ensembles, they are pretty much in good agreement that this storm will be impacting people from Washington, D.C. up through Boston. All right, now that's a very major key when ensembles and the operational are in good agreement. We're gonna look at the 18Z ensembles. All right. How many show this storm affecting Washington, D.C. to Boston? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So all 12 ensembles yet again have this storm affecting people from Washington, D.C. up to Boston. So this is definitely going to be an impacting storm from Washington, D.C. to Boston. So this is basically what I'm looking at as far as this particular event goes. What you're going to see is a low pressure system, the original low pressure. What that's going to do is that's going to transfer its energy to this particular low, and then this is going to kind of move up in this particular direction. It's not going to move exactly north. It's going to actually be moved out like this because there is still a high up here in Canada, okay? And that will force the storm to not go up the coast completely. But it's still going to produce a very significant snowstorm for people, particularly in southern New England and also the mid-Atlantic. So this is going to be a very good storm for you folks. These regions in the purple are going to see at least 6 inches of snow with over 12 inches of snow possible. All right, now you see this light blue area. This light blue area is indicating up to 4 inches of snow. Now you also see this light blue area down here and down here. Now, in these regions, okay, this region will definitely see just up to 4 inches of snow, no mixing issues. However, into these regions, they will see up to 4 inches of snow, but the potential of mixing and or rain is there for these particular regions, particularly along the coast. All right, now you also see these green shaded areas. This is where only rain is expected. These areas would see up to 2 inches of rain with significant flooding possible. Then you see this dark blue shade, and again, this will be updated as time moves on tomorrow. But basically, you can see up to 12 inches of snow mixing, or a period of rain is possible along the coast. So particularly not for people into these areas, but really for these regions. Okay, this would be where you would be talking about more of a potential of mixing or a little bit of rain. Then, of course, you have all of these areas where we have at least 6 inches of snow with the potentials of over 12 inches of snow possible. These areas are in great shape for a significant snowstorm. Now, for people who live in Boston, New York, and D.C., all right, this will be a significant storm, all right, definitely. However, the problem into these regions is that you are going to be seeing a possible period of mixing, particularly during the afternoon hours. And not only that, but when you do see the snow, it will be extremely, I mean extremely heavy and wet. This will be a serious issue for people who have poor roofs, okay? This is going to be an extremely heavy wet snow. We're going to be talking about snow ratios of around 5 to 1 to 7, 5 to 7 to 1 into these areas. That is a significant wet snow. Now, what's going to happen into these regions where we have the purple shading? Well, it's still going to be a wet snow, but it's not going to be as heavy and wet as coastal areas or where we see the mixin. These regions will see generally a 7 to 10 to 1 ratio, which is a normal consistency for the snow. Not too heavy, but not too light either. So it's not going to be too easy. It's not going to be just like, oh, let's just brush it off of the car or whatever. You are going to need to put in a little bit of work into this. However, it is going to be not as heavy as the folks along the coast, where you'll get some more warmer air. You'll see what's going to happen is there will be an onshore flow into these regions, which will warm up the column, which therefore you will see a more wetter, more pasty snow. All right, so these are my general this is my general thoughts, and also just to let everybody know, along the coast there is the high potential for coastal flooding. So if you do have anybody who lives along the coast, make sure you kind of make them aware that this could be a potentially serious situation for them, particularly along the Jersey coast, where a lot of people are still trying to rebuild after Sandy, and a storm like this is definitely not needed. So this is my map. Now I'm going to show you a map from somebody else here from Northeast Storm Center. This is from Andrew on Northeast Storm Center. And right now he's thinking that basically 8 to 12 for the areas around the Washington, D.C. area, also 8 to 12 back out here into the Midwest, which I agree with. I also, you notice how you see 5 to 8 basically cutting up from northern Maine down through the New York City metro area, with 8 to 12 back out in here. Again, these areas, it's going to be tough, because particularly right along the coast. All right, we're going to have to kind of keep an eye on that. But I think definitely 8 to 12 is definitely possible to be extended back here, and definitely put back down here, and then kind of cut up like this a little bit. But for the most part, it's a fairly good map. But this is definitely what it's looking like, and definitely the potential for 12 to 18 into these regions away from the coast is definitely possible, with locally 18 plus. So again, that's my general thoughts here on this particular storm. I hope so. If you do live into any of the regions that I shaded in purple, or even into any of these regions in here, make sure you're ready for something pretty significant. This will definitely have an impact, and this will definitely potentially create some significant problems as far as travel and as far as potentially damage and power outages go. Power outages are definitely a high concern with this, particularly because of the consistency of the snow. So just make sure that you have all of that prepared. And I will be giving another update tomorrow, as of course we'll get some new model information. But for now, that is what my thoughts are on the storm. I hope you all have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow with another update. Take care, everyone.